Hello and welcome to Simply First Class Podcast. I am Makai Kirkwood, and I will be your host for all of 2-3 minutes. Here today we have. Please introduce yourself.
Just spit something and just having fun with it. Here we go. I'm shaking off my nervousness. I'm fortunate to have this moment in time. I'm hoping to shine with opening minds. Y'all get it? I'm a mastermind, a passing time with flows. I do this from my heart with no catch of mine. See, I got the glow, like the fish in Fukushima. I'm looking for a leader. I'm right here speaking truth. Who's mumbling now? I'm shutting it down with skills. I'm Phantizy, the one who's bringing bars to this. Forget about your cars and whips.
My name is Phantizy. I'm a hip hop artist, based out of Newport News. I was born and raised in Newport News. I like to rap, so here we go.
Had some technical difficulties. So this is
no worries.
Recording number 2.
Yeah.
Again, I apologize for the inconvenience.
No, it's no worries. It's all cool.
But I'm grateful that you've been so patient. Thank you.
Yeah. It's all cool.
So you make hip hop music.
Yeah.
And you focus more on the kind of the old school hip hop.
Yeah.
I know I'm familiar with the new school hip hop.
Yeah.
What got you interested in old school and kind of into making the music? Because instead of appreciating it, now you're crafting it.
Oh yeah. So what really got me interested, so to take it back to when I was a kid, I was so big on just being around my brothers. My brothers were really big into hip hop. So at the time, it was I'll say the early 2000s. Of course, you had the Ludacris's and, different people on the internet. Well, not on the internet, but on TV. And they were so big on that type of music. So during that time, I wasn't really big into hip hop. And it took me years later until growing up, I started appreciating more about hip hop and, music. And I really got my start from really crafting and writing music from being in ciphers. So being in ciphers was my older brother Tim.
Can you tell us what ciphers are real quick?
Oh yeah. So ciphers are essentially where you have a group of people just sitting around in a big circle, just freestyling. Some off the top, some are pre-written rhymes, but just everybody just rhyming. Or some people I've been in ciphers where they will say a word, you got to rhyme the word and create a topic.
And kind of keep going off of it.
Yeah. Those have me.
Those
That challenge me.
Fun.
Yo, see, I'd just be sitting there, I'd be just going on.
Being in Alaska, I heard that we are a severe minority.
Yep.
So did hearing music like that kind of help you stay connected to your core culture?
When I was in Alaska, during that time that you had Kendrick drop, this was kind of before, it was on the time when I was moving from basic training, AIT, they call it AIT in the Army, where
Roughly
we do.
How young were you?
Yeah, so during that time, I was 21. Yep,
okay.
Right when I turned 21. And that's right, because I was in basic training 20, and then I turned 21 right before I got to Alaska. Mm-hmm. But during that time, I just listened to a lot of music, and that's where I started downloading a lot of music, and I started really appreciating underground music as well, because I don't really get to hear the lyrics that I really like in the mainstream sense. So I've always I like to go to different artists who may not be signed or who may not got to shine as someone as big as someone like Drake does, So I go listen to them, and I'm like, oh, I'm inspired by that, Or I go back in time, and I'm like, okay, for example, you got 95, okay, I was only one in 95, but at the same time, I'll go back and listen to all the albums in 95, the Purple Tape, Only Built for Cuban Links, phenomenal album. Liquid Swords, phenomenal album. That's Wu-Tang, I don't know. I could, I can debate anybody because that's my favorite. Those are some of my favorite albums.
Back, the simple things matter. I still can't believe to this day I'm a rapper.
Next thing I'd like for our audience to know, because you are new to my group, can you run through your evolution of albums?
Yeah.
And kind of the backstory, what songs are important to you, why?
So the first album, that came out in 2019 that I put on, not social media, but music platforms, was Culture Shock. And that one was a very particular album because, again, I like the old school hip hop, and that's where I've always, thanks to my mom and also my uncle as well. My uncle got me inspired on different, hip hop as well. But this Culture Shock was all about paying homage to different artists. So I'm all about the whole album, just paying homage, going for classic sound, or some of my friends call it the OG sound, the original sound. So I'm like, okay.
Some of the people you mentioned a moment ago.
Yeah. And I'm just pulling from them and doing different things like that. And all of my music is engineered by one guy. His name is Trig, and he works at he owns Exalt Recordings, so he engineers all my music. That's why it sounds so consistent.
Yeah.
But he in particular got on Think Again. So originally when I made Think Again, it was just me on the whole entire song. When I got into that session, he was I was doing the mixing and mastering, and then he was like, oh, let me do a sneak attack. I was like, sneak attack? Like, oh, I'm gonna hop on it. I'm like, all right, cool. And when he got onto it, I tell you that it just hit. Like it just made a hit. Folks in Poland now like it, all over. And now I'm starting to see folks just listening to it. They're like, that's my favorite song. But shout out to Trig. Like he really took it to the next level. To go back on the culture shock, it's all about paying homage to the ones who came before me. I can't get behind this mic and not pay homage to the ones who came before me, because I respect the craft, I respect the music, because hip hop is music. Some folks, that was the debate for even before I was born. That's not music. Folks are just talking on a mic. But nah, it's a real music thing. And then that's why I wanted to make sure I'm paying homage. So before I can even get there, let me pay respect to the ones who came before me. This is Phantizy. I'm repping that 757, 2 up and 2 down. Now, to prove a point was different, because folks are like, oh, I like culture shock. That's that old school sound, but you can't do this new sound. So I had a guy come up.
They tried to say you can't.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
and I had to prove a point.
Yeah.
And I had to prove them. And from there, I had to like switch up my flow, because so even like on beats per measure, like that's like a 90 like beats per measure.
Yeah, you mentioned the 4x4 with the normal traditional counted music, and then how you took the bars and kind of broke them down with your rhythm before.
Yeah. When you talk about music, hip hop, 4 beats is a bar. That's what they call bars. So when you take 4 beats and go like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you put it on the paper, because you can take it on the paper and you can kind of break it down, because a lot of people like to rhyme the last word at the end of the bar. And yeah,
my cat is fat. It ate a rat.
Hey, hey, that it's dope. See,
but that's what they do, and everybody gets bored of that. So that's when people like Lil Wayne, Eminem kind of switch it up. So how did you take that, spin it on your own?
Yeah, so an interesting point, because lyrics is always going to be a very big focal point, especially as a lyricist, because you got rappers who just rap like Cat Hat. That's Dr. Seuss can be a rapper if you really think about it. If you really think about it,
I mean, that's true. Green eggs and ham, same I am. I do not like green eggs and ham.
Mm-hmm. But what you can do is like for 3 like syllables. And I learned this from my big bro Jeremy. He really took rhyming syllables, because you can rhyme so many syllables. Like especially like on some of my music, I like to do 2 syllables, 3 syllables. Then you got 4 and 5. Some do like the whole sentences, rhyming whole sentences. Now that's a whole nother complex way of rhyme.
That's like Shakespeare type.
Yeah, like So that's why I'm just sitting there. I'm like that. I'm impressed by that.
Yeah.
But even with that, like I like to do a lot of history. I'm a big history guy. Like in school and different things like that, history was like my number one subject. I could spit like dates and just go off from there. But that's why, like, even with the proof point, I made sure to put the truth in with a trendy sound, so folks will listen to the beat, and then they're also
they get the truth kind of subliminally.
Yeah.
And then they hear it again, and then they hear your words.
Yeah. Like one of my songs is "Hands Up," because that talks about police brutality and different things like that.
And that was right before George Floyd, so then it became timeless. It was already timeless, but then something iconic happened to kind of like solidify it. Yeah,
not too many artists that and I love the artists here. I love everybody. But at the same time, what sets me apart from a lot of different people is I talk about topics that folks really just don't talk about, or they're afraid something's gonna happen, or
I mean, we're raised don't talk about politics, money, or religion. So you'll be fine. You'll get along with everybody.
Yep. And that's why I just kind of keep it, I don't talk about things that are going to be detrimental or something like that, but just kind of bringing awareness. So so this one is cafe music, because my thing was I treat lyrics and I treat music as an art form. I took that on the next level on on Cafe Music, because you had songs like Back to the Basics with my homeboy Jay Steele. So that's where I just went for like a really long verse of just like rapping like bars after bars after bars. And then we also did another song called The Shine, and The Shine is so cool because you have different viewpoints and different ways of attacking the same song. So whereas my friend Jay Steele, we went like for a social commentary type of sound. You know, Trig, he came in there, he did a hook. With my verse, I also talked about some of my stuff like kind of growing up. I talked about some of the stuff like I went into foster care growing up as a kid. I talked about different things, kind of brought it all the way up to where I'm at right now. But the cool thing about it was I talked the bars in there as well, and I switched my flow up a little bit, you know, as well. I switched it up so many different times in that one verse where it was like really long, like a 32 bar verse. But I went into so many different ways of just rapping,
making
you know,
it dynamic.
Yeah. So where folks can be like, oh shoot, he was really good, like going in.
Put effort in that.
Yeah. and then my boy Kendall came in and closed it out with his verse as well. So that one right there, like that
was a big collaboration.
Oh yeah, because I think like lyrics and music is an art form, and Tug of War, I talked about some personal things, or you know, not really trying to compromise, or you know, because even with my music as well, I don't like to promote violence. I'm not talking about ops. I'm not talking about none of the craziness that I think a lot of folks are, you know, talking about. I like to be who I am and stay true to myself, because if I stay true to myself, I don't have to change up or nothing like that. You know, I'm not here to change up. I'm here just to make music, because music is an art. And that's kind of where I've at right there. And I also did the song Stay Chill, and that's more so like a real vibe song, just vibing. I'm just staying chill, just keep it cool. But and then the next album after that was It's Cool to Be a Nerd. So I like you know, even to this day, I'm more so into like video games and doing different things like that, and the technology, into you know, just anime and different things like that. And I brought that all into this one album. I made it such an important point to be myself on the album, to talk about the things that just, you know, just what I like to talk about, or just like what I like to do at the same time. But it's also lyrics driven as well. I'm not really, I guess folks can say Diamond Dust, like the song I did called Diamond Dust, and this is for people who may not know anime, but if they may not know anime, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still a good song. So my thing was, I'm not gonna try to beat their heads with, you gotta watch these animes. I don't expect people to really watch all that, but at the same time, it's
something that was important to you.
Oh yeah,
and it's a part of who you are, and it's a part of your story. So some
folks, when they think of hip hop, oh, that's just, you know, folks talking on the mic, or it's not music. Even with, I had some friends, well, some folks who reached out to me like, yo, you made music for us, you know, with the School to Be a Nerd. So I tell folks all the time, even though as I'm getting older, this is what I like. Like, it is what it is. I'm cool, you know. And then now you're starting to see other artists, like even mainstream artists, talk about different things
that
like
they're into, that they've hidden for that social stigma. Nobody cares.
Yeah. And so, and that's why I just lay it out like this is what it is, and that's what for that album. 2021, I lost my best friend DJ Dez. I lost shortly after that, I lost my mom in 2021, and then also I lost my uncle a month later, you know, with that as well. So 2021 was the year, I would say probably one of my worst years of my whole entire life. With that year, I really wanted to make more music, but I was just so in such a...
It's kind of hard to produce when you're depressed. And grief is just like kicking you back to back to back.
Because I had to be the strong one while everyone else was like grieving and different things. And, you know, I was grieving as well. And during that time...
It's hard.
It's
a really hard balance. You kind of... you learn who you are at your worst, but you're also learning like how strong you are, how vulnerable you are,
right? How
hard you actually run away from yourself sometimes, how much your quiet time is necessary. Your mind is doing a million, and you're keeping your body active, but if you can't figure how to grieve and move forward at the same time, because you can relate. We lost a year, at least a year. You know, processing those kind of a loss. And it's incredible that you came back and you're here as strong-minded, as sound-voiced as you are, to be able to carry your art, to create, to now continue to share your experiences. Yeah. Because you kind of go into a hermit mode. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. See? You went into a hermit, you started working, started grinding. Yeah. You're like, at this point, I am genuinely a diamond in the rough.
Oh, that's true. I want folks to know who I am as an artist and kind of know where, where I've been. And hopefully with this interview, they can kind of understand some of the things that they might not know, But with the new album, I'm just going to talk about some of, maybe now y'all understand, because I'm writing this to be, so many different songs. I got a song, it's called My Final Letter to My Mom, because my mom will always write letters. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to be a top 5 song of my whole entire catalog, because when I was writing the song, I was tearing up. Yeah. And when I wrote the song, it's going to be a tearjerker. Yeah. But, that's why I talked about this one. It's going to be a lot of highs and lows. I got, a song on there. I got a song. I'm going to call it In My Bag. I'm on
this cannot beat me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's another song, Old Soul, because some folks oh, you're an old soul. I'm like, and then,
you are 29 and you speak so wise.
Yeah. That's true, and I learned that from just being around older people, being around listening to. When I was 15, I used to sit there and watch lectures from KRS-One, and
at 15, you were watching lectures.
Yeah, because and I'm all about.
I just want to reiterate that.
No, okay.
At 15, you were watching lectures.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And that's why.
At 15.
Yeah, because and
I don't mean to laugh, but at 15, most people aren't. They're watching YouTube. They're so your mindset was already ahead of your time. We're gonna close out with. Was it 2 questions? It was 2 questions.
Okay.
And then I have a special question that I've hold for all artists. Out of your albums, what is your most favorite?
Well, that's an interesting question, because obviously I like all of my albums, but I think the one I think that's going to be the most special out of all of them is definitely Culture Shock, because that's the one I think a lot of folks that's their starting point, and it's
is that because that's their starting point? That it's your favorite?
Yeah, it's like a starting point for me as well, because after getting out from the Army, I had to really start from kind of the ground up and really kind of go from there. So that's why I think it's a really good starting point for folks who like lyrics, who likes, if they, may not like the OG sound, they can go to the Prove a Point, they can hear something that may be, more conducive for today. But Culture Shock is definitely the one, because it's just it has that, Think Again, that's a classic feel to it. And then The Great Admission, I even, talked about stuff on there, Digging in the Crates. I was listening to that, when I was coming up here, still, it's crazy, Real Hip Hop, Mass Appeal, Say No More. I think, just for that whole entire album, I think a lot of folks, because when they first heard that, whoa, that's, serious. But, that one just holds a special place. That's, some folks now are yo, you got to do a Think Again Part 2. I was I don't know if I'm going to be able to recreate that. It's the greatest.
That's not the goal, because, there are some artists who have a Part 2. Yeah. Ooh, what's the name of that one? Was it Usher? Confession?
Oh, yeah.
Those were 2 entirely different vibes.
Yep.
But one was a part 1, one was a part 2.
Yep. And that's true. That's true. That's why I'm just gonna keep on just doing
progressing and upgrading. Okay.
But for my new upcoming project, I am doing a part 2 at Sirius, off of the It's Cool to Be a Nerd, because with Sirius, I hit the nail on a point where I broke down some things just politics and kind of just staying true to who I am as an artist. But I'm gonna take it up a notch. I'm gonna really expose different things and kind of seeing different things kind of going on from a social political standpoint, and to kind of bring folks into modern times and to kind of see what it is, because some topics that they don't talk about on the news, I'm going to talk about it on that song to kind of bring folks, awareness to it, shed light to it.
Absolutely.
And kind of go from there. So it's a special song. It's such a special, but again, Culture Shock, I would say definitely my one, I would say that's one of my favorites.
All right.
So,
Cool. And then this is something else I'm sure listeners are going to be curious about. You did mention a few artists who inspired you. And they all come from about the same time frame. If you could pick anyone in particular who most inspired you, who would that be?
Well, I would definitely say Nas. Now, not only because my mom gave me a CD of Nas and said, hey, you need to listen to Nas. Well, as a kid, you see the I used to see the I Can video on BET and MTV would come on. So as a young kid, like 7 or 8, you know, I didn't even really understand hip hop at the time. But at the same time, I knew that song was such a special song. You know, even now, still got that nostalgic feel. And I'm like, that's why, you know, I go back to Nas. But Nas, he definitely inspired me. I'm a student of the game.
How about your top three?
Top three. I would say Nas, KRS-One, and then I would definitely say I would say Kendrick. Yeah, those are my favorites.
All right, now this question I save for every guest.
Okay.
Interview experience or not, you have experience sharing your music with people, right?
Okay.
And you've gotten feedback and you've gotten a lot of support.
Yeah.
And my question is.
Yep.
Is there a question that you've never been asked before that you wish somebody thought to ask you?
Ooh, interesting. I think pretty much I will say, if someone asks, like, because when they say Newport News, folks might not know about the 757, you know, so maybe that might be one thing I'll probably touch on a little bit about the 757. You know, because there's 7 cities, you know, there's Hampton, Newport News, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Portsmouth, and there's, I'm trying to think, I'm losing my brain right now. There's Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. So, but yeah, there's just the 7 cities, and that's why I'm so big on bringing the 757 together, because when folks talk about Virginia, you know, you start saying, oh, I'm from Newport News. Like, oh, you from the DMV. I'm like, no, the DMV is a little bit north. Up.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell folks the 757, you got such a wide variety of different artists and different sounds and different things. And that's why it's so important. I like to say this is the 757. I love the DMV, you know, and I love Richmond.
But
you
it's
know.
a community.
Yeah.
Just as much as we're a community.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you wish that people would ask you more about the area. That's a good point. People don't really separate the two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for coming to the platform.
No problem.
To the people. I am actually quite happy we had all the technical difficulties we started out with, because this is going to be so much doper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's go. No worries.
Before we let you go.
Yeah.
We'd like to know what platforms you're on. Okay. Like, where can listeners find you?
Okay.
What social media can they add you on? Kind of how can they chat and get involved with you?
Okay.
Any websites? I know you mentioned merch earlier. Yeah. So can you go into that?
Okay. So I'm on Facebook at Phantizy Phantizy 731 on Facebook. Instagram is just at Phantizy. Twitter is at Phantizy 731, and also on YouTube at Phantizy 731. I also have a website is Phantizy.com, and on Phantizy.com you can go click on, there's a little link that has merchandise, and it'll take you right directly to the merchandise. I got hoodies, I got different shirts, I got stickers and different things like that.
Real quickly, what would be a message that you would want to stick with your the people who listen to this?
Never give up. Never give up. Always keep going. Always try for more. Never, you know, obviously you're going to have times to doubt, but just keep on going, pushing through it. You know, when I lost my mom back in, 2021, I didn't give up. You know, I just kept on going, you know, never, you know, and then also another thing as well, when people say no, just keep on going, because, you know, a lot of folks told me no, but I still kept going.